Thank you for joining me for what I'm more or less calling my story/spoiler run through Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. This is your warning that from this point forward, this video and all of the videos in this series are full of spoilers and speculation for the complete story in Rebirth, so everything we're given in-game. It will be looking at ideas and elements from Remake, as well as the original Final Fantasy VII, start to finish, so including beyond where we are in the story, the whole story start to finish of OG7. It will be incorporating ideas and plot elements from the books, On the Way to a Smile, The Kids Are All Right, Tale of Two Pasts. It will probably come up once or twice discussing Advent Children, the movie, and I will give you fair warning, it is such a convoluted story, and going back through it for how many times I've watched other people play, I've watched my play, I've recorded these videos, as many times as I've gone through it, there's always new ideas and thoughts that I have while doing stuff, so you'll see little interruptions occasionally throughout the video, like this! And those are just, during the editing process, something I forgot to mention. I came in and thought of it, and so added it in after fact. So if those are annoying, sorry, but it is what it is. So I want these to generate discussion. I want to hear your thoughts, so please join me in the comments. Tell me things that maybe I missed. If you see something you missed, let me know. If you think I'm wrong about something, please. If you think I'm going off into crazy town, if you think I'm on the right track, great, let's talk about it. Maybe discussion will raise some more ideas. Anyway, without further ado, thank you for joining me. I love this game. Hopefully you do too, so let's get into it. And here we are about to kick off Chapter 9, and if the pairing goes up the way it has been, we'll be doing 9 and 10 in this next couple of videos in this series. Now, obviously, this section going down into Gongaga is going to have a bit more lore and discussion, I think, probably than the last series did, which didn't really have a whole lot in it. Plenty of interesting stuff, I think, at least, but there wasn't nearly as much of the and what's going on here discussion that I think we're probably going to get between coming up to Gongaga and especially into Cosmo Canyon for Chapter 10. I know there's some good stuff there, especially by the time we get down to the Cave of the Gi. So, anyway, here we are about to kick things off and get a little ways into it before I'm going to need to take a break, but obviously won't matter to you at all. Just have to wait like a couple of seconds.
Hey, Robocat, you act all buddy-buddy, but we don't know a thing about you. Let's fix that.
There's not much to know. I'm a 9-to-5 nobody at a small Shinra subsidiary.
You can pull some strings and get the director of the aeronautics jumped off the hotel registry for the night.
My mistake.
But you lot are special. Properly special. Never met a specialer group of people in all my life. How could I not tag along?
How can I not tag along? Bullshit.
Come now, this is a road trip. We should be bonding, not fighting.
Come on, let's play some road trip games. Anybody got any Mad Libs?
Barret,
Can't really play the license plate game.
you won't take down Scarlet unless I'm there with you.
All right, I promise. If you don't give up the ghost right here and now, that is.
I kind of wonder if what is gonna be the ultimate fate of Scarlet
Stupid
and Heidegger, I guess, as well.
get the better of me.
Because you kind of get the impression that they die
Which, right in the
in OG. Like, I mean, they're certainly out of the picture, and I
can't.
Wait,
I
just
assume they die. I honestly don't know if they actually die or if you just defeat them, sort of thing.
pull over. She's about to pop.
Wait, lassie! Not in the buggy!
We know, obviously,
Not in
there's
the
plenty of
buggy!
characters here with more than enough incentive to kill Scarlet. So I imagine any final battle with Scarlet's going to involve
You
Barret
any
and Yuffie,
better?
most likely.
Leave me.
But I wonder how that's going to go down. Are we going to spare her at the last
Where to
second? Is she
now?
going to go out
We don't
in a
have
blaze of glory?
enemies, and driving in circles, hoping to spot
Refuse
a black
to
robe is
let us take pity on her? No mercy for her?
When you don't know where life's leading,
Summon the giant Moogle!
you should get yourself a reading!
Ooh.
Meow, 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 meow. Meow, 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 meow.
That's the thing. This is sort of the first part of the story where you're not following the Black Robe guys.
Lucky food is mushrooms.
Again, prediction
Mushrooms,
accurate.
eh?
Mushrooms to Gongaga.
Wait! Barret,
It's the right place to go.
you mentioned something earlier about the Corel reactor, did you not? You saw a weapon there, right?
Yeah, but I don't recall telling you.
Well, it might interest you to know that just a wee drive from here, there's another rundown reactor.
Reactor? Materia! Okay, I'm good.
Better than
Everybody,
smelling salts
get
for
in
you,
the
Fee.
car. Let's go, go, go!
Well, couldn't hurt to check it out, I
I
guess.
love that big chunky moogle.
Aye, just a wee drive from here, so it is. Shall we?
Why not?
Oh, Cloud? Mind taking the wheel?
I'm getting tired of the cat in my lap.
Alright,
He's getting weird
pull
about
us
it.
out through the sands till we start seeing green. We'll be pulling up outside that reactor before you can say Mako.
Mako. Didn't work. Okay, and that's gonna be it for me for a little bit here, so I will see you in just a second,
So, what was up
and
with that lucky food
well,
fortune?
after this
I
conversation,
mean, why mushrooms?
pick it up when we get
Well, this
to
reactor's smack
Gongaga.
bang in the middle of a place
Probably.
famous for, aye, you guessed it, the world's favourite fungi.
Ooh.
Mushrooms grow near a reactor. Yeah, I'll pass, thanks.
Alright, see you in a sec.
Alright, folks, keep those eyes peeled.
Peeled for what?
For a jungle, that's what. The reactor's nestled deep in the heart of one.
If that's the case, I think we're still a long ways off.
I don't think we really are. There's a jungle right there,
We'll
Red.
soon find out, won't we? Gongaga's just past these shallows.
Gongaga?
Oh, Barret knows that name.
Hey, up ahead. That our jungle?
Indeed it is. Hold on, little Miss Carsick. We're almost there.
Hooray.
Gongaga. Another good news about a secondary playthrough is that all the other quests are done. You can skip all that crap and come straight here.
Bit overgrown for the poor old buggy. We'll need to carry on foot. Oh, I meant to say, there's a village up this way. Fancy popping in? The reactor's not going anywhere, and I bet we could all do with a wee cat nap, eh?
Sure. Let's.
Cloud? You okay?
I feel like I've been here before.
Which, of course, he has, even though he was semi-comatose for it. So, after escaping Shinra Manor and Nibelheim, Zack came here and dragged Cloud along with him in a sidecar of a bike or something like that. And there, he ran into Cissnei. So, we'll cover that in just a minute when we actually get there proper. But for now, I do want to stop in briefly and just say hi to and just check in at the weapons hut just to talk about it for a second. So I'll see you there in just a second. So we're here at Izo's weaponsmith hut, and I just wanted to come here because I really enjoyed the quest here. Not so much the doing of, which was pretty simple and straightforward, but the idea behind it. That here's this weaponsmith, and he makes a new weapon for Barret, and he's just really impressed with, you know, the assembly that he's got and the way it's designed, etc. And Barret mentions that, you know, somebody made it for him, and it was Old Man Sakaki was his name. And the only reason I really paid attention to it was the fact that in I think it's in On the Way to a Smile, in Barret's chapter, he mentions, or actually he goes back to visit him, and he's trying, because Barret is undergoing a crisis of what the hell do I do with my life now. He did the thing that he set out to do. I mean, he saved the planet ultimately. He more or less took down Shinra. They're still operable, but not nearly on the same scale they were. Midgar is toast. and he's looking for new stuff, what he's going to do with his life after this fact. And so he goes back to potentially arrange for a new prosthetic, and it's brought up that Sakaki made other possibilities for him. Like he made, what was it? I think there was some farming tools, basically. It was, he made a shovel arm and a hammer arm, so not farming, but still construction, and a hook arm, ironically enough, which Barret makes himself a hook in this game. But, and instead, Sakaki gave him an adapter so he could change and put on all sorts of different things. And it was at that point that Barret got the gun arm idea and had that made for him. Why there are various attachments throughout Remake and Rebirth that just happen to fit his gun arm adapter, we'll never know. That's beside the point. But it's interesting because later on a side moment here in Gongaga, Barret mentions, you know, what he might do, you know, maybe settle down and do some farming with Marlene someday when this is all over. And it's the fact that looking ahead is, these are the possibilities for the things that he can't have now, that he just can't allow himself to have now, rather, which is the tools of peace. Instead, he still has to have the gun arm to make the world a better place, secure Marlene's future. And I just find it interesting that he had the option originally and turned all of it down to get the weapons to get his revenge, and that morphed into, you know, his goals for the planet and Marlene. But it's just, I think it was a good way of bringing some of that information in a really appropriate way, because I mean the weaponsmith is part of the game. There was a weaponsmith on the peninsula in OG7, east of the Gongaga area proper, outside of the jungle, and I know there were things you could do there. I never really bothered after maybe my first or second playthrough, so I honestly don't remember what you could do in his weaponsmith hut. There's a couple things, but it's been so long and I didn't do it very often. Anyway. But I think it was just a really good way of doing game lore, connecting the old game, or the original game, to this one, etc. And I really enjoyed the way they did it. But they didn't give it all away. And so there's still the potential for more information in the future, even if whether they change how things happen or whether they just give us more about what already has happened. So I just wanted to mention it here while we're in the area. I don't think there's anything else here, so I'm going to pop up and I'll see when we get to Gongaga proper. Why is there still materia up there I haven't gotten yet? I swear to God, I've come through here multiple times. And I even remember seeing that and going and getting it. That's a warding materia. Is that a respawning warding materia? Like, all the blues don't respawn. Blues and the purples you find, anything along those lines, all gets turned into, like, healing or something.
It's about time. We're freaking starving. Maybe our lucky food will be on the menu.
Okay, here we go. Now, this opening moment has a couple of important beats to it, one of which is still a mystery.
Are these? They are! Gongaga mushrooms!
They may be hard to come by in Midgar, but here you can't move for the blasted things.
Yes, we've run into so many of them. Hello, random people who just decide we're a threat.
Passing through.
Recognition.
You.
What?
Nothing. For a second, I thought you were someone else.
Which a first-timer or someone who has not played Crisis Core might pass off as maybe she thought it was Zack. If you put together that Zack came from Gongaga, later on you might go, oh, maybe she thought Cloud was Zack. But no. Cissnei recognizes Cloud. Because, like I said earlier, Zack and Cloud come here, and they first stop off at Gongaga proper, and Zack leaves Cloud behind at the ruined reactor, which I said in the previous video, they don't make a big deal about at all, and I don't understand that given the timing. We'll get to that in a second. But she's basically said, this is your family's place, Zack. This is the first place they'll come look for you. What are you thinking? And Zack realizes he's being a bit of a doofus about it. And basically, because they're good friends, he says, hey, she gives him like 10 minutes head start sort of thing. And he's like, hey, can you do me a favor and keep an eye on my family and take care of them for me? She's like, yeah, I've already met them. Oh, well, they probably want you to join the family. She goes, yeah, they already asked me. Which, again, it goes back to that Cissnei and Zack had a kind of flirtatious relationship, but it never went beyond that. And I think, I mean, especially with Aerith in the picture, but even if Aerith had not shown up and, grabbed hold of Zack's heart, I don't know if Zack and Cissnei would have really gone anywhere. I think they would have always been good friends. I don't know that the real spark was there. Could have been. You never know. But Aerith came along, so we don't have to worry about that. But yeah, and then after that, while still not in the area, I don't remember exactly where they were, but Cissnei ran into them again, and this time she actually attacked Zack. I don't know that her heart was really in it. And she saw Cloud there. And definitely saw him, and she probably recognized him because Cloud and Zack were in the same group together on several missions in Crisis Core. I don't think Cloud and Cissnei and Zack ever went on any missions, except they were all in Junon together at one point, but I don't know that there was any direct interaction. But regardless, there were multiple opportunities just from what you see in game where Cissnei would recognize or would have met Cloud for her to recognize him here. So she 100% recognizes Cloud and knows exactly who he is. Why she keeps it to herself? Speculation at that point. Arguably, because when she last saw him, he was on the run from Shinra with Zack, and at this point she doesn't want her past with Shinra broadcast. I'm not sure how much the people of Gongaga know. It sounds like she's keeping it on the DL, but so it could be she didn't bring it up there because she doesn't want it coming out in front of all the other Gongaga people that are around. Or she's sort of keeping it close to the chest. Why reveal something unless she has to? She was a Turk after all. So espionage, not unheard of for her. So yes, I mean, she clearly recognizes him, but definitely doesn't reveal. And then the other thing here is that she also recognizes Cait Sith. There's nothing in lore necessarily for why she would recognize Cait Sith, except
why are you here?
with her background in Shinra, she may have come across Reeve controlling the cat at some point for some bizarre reason. Who knows? But very obviously recognized right there. Come on.
Well then.
Like, everybody saw that and saw Cait go,
Welcome
shh.
to Gongaga. I'm Cissnei, Coalition Captain. And sorry.
I love the
we
Crisis Core
startled
music
you
here as
before.
well.
Just doing our jobs. Back to your
Friggin'
posts.
beautiful. It's a good music by itself, but it's a great version of it. Da, 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 da.
You'll get a clear view of the reactor from that hill. Make sure to pay your respects, though.
Of course.
Come on.
So pay your respects as a person of Shinra, so she's sort of pointing it out to him. So Reeve is an interesting character, and I've done a little bit more research on him since I recorded this. And number one, there may actually be a game lore where Cait Sith interacted with the Turks. I have not played the game. I think it's in one of the prequel things, like Before Crisis, probably, or one of those games like that. And apparently there's a point where Cait is interacting with the Turks and helps them out on something. I haven't played it, but it sounds like it is there. So there is a reason why Cissnei presumably recognizes Cait Sith, and I think they even learn who is controlling him during that interaction. If you're more familiar with it, feel free to mention in the comments. Otherwise, once I play the game, I'm sure I'll get around to it. Supposedly, like I've seen it mentioned in some places, that Reeve designed the Midgar Mako reactors. I don't know that I believe that, or there may be just conflicting lore about it, because Reeve is supposed to have been born in 1972, and as I mentioned in a previous video, Midgar was already under construction by the time Reeve was born, according to the timelines that I've got, at least. And these are not my personal timelines. These are put together by other fandoms and stuff, and so I'm going off their information. It all seems to be sourced, so as far as I can tell, it's all correct. So I have to wonder about it now, because if you look up on Final Fantasy Wiki, it says that Reeve Tuesti designed Midgar and the Mako reactors. The Midgar project was launched in 1969, and based on the Nebo reactor, which was already constructed, so he had nothing to do with that. And Mako Reactor 0, in the middle of Midgar, went online in 1971. Reeve was born in 1972. Pretty sure they had had an idea of what they were building in Midgar by the time they had Mako Reactor 0 up and running. Certainly, they knew what they were doing by 1972 and 3, when, Mako Reactor 1 came online, 1974, 75, when Reeve was, at least toddling by then. Midgar was largely done by then. Mako Reactor 8 started operating in 1976. So, I mean, Reeve does not appear to have had a damn thing to do with the Mako reactors in Midgar. Yeah, so I don't know where that came from in the wiki, but at the very least, as the director of urban planning, I think is his division, he oversaw the remaining construction and planning and maintenance of Midgar and of the Mako reactors. So Reeve has a bit of a personal and professional interest in the reactors and in what happened in Gongaga. So, I mean, the Gongaga reactor blew up in '04, so he was probably director by then. I don't know I'm not sure if if that's known in the timeline exactly when he became director, but if he was in charge of the maintenance by that point, you got to wonder what sort of say he had in whether or not they did the maintenance that he mentions in just a short time here. When I go talk to Cait Sith after the conversation at the memorial, you'll hear it, and he says, they could have done the maintenance, they could have prevented this, but they didn't. Well, it was your division, so I wonder when Reeve actually became the director of urban planning. Because he's certainly, I believe he's younger than most or all of the other people on the board, with the exception of Rufus, perhaps, I think. And so he would have most likely come to the job later. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, he has a personal stake in the fact that this reactor went up. So Cissnei, knowing who he is and pointedly saying to him, maybe pay your respects. There could be a little more to that than I originally thought. So anyway, the other tie-ins real fast, just as long as we're talking about Reeve. Reeve's mother, if you've ever watched Advent Children, the little kid Denzel, who is Marlene's friend, Denzel lived for a while with a woman named Ruby, who was Reeve's mother. And he didn't know that at the time. It's really only... you find that out in On the Way to a Smile in Denzel's chapter, I believe. And he's talking with Reeve, possibly recruiting Denzel into the WRO, the World Regenesis Organization, I think is the name. And Reeve basically mentions, that's who she was his mom. So it, just a little tie-in to him with the greater lore. And there's still more to learn about Reeve, I'm sure. And I like that. I think Rebirth is giving us more of an option too, because you really barely even see him in OG7. I think he's getting a little bit more of a role here. So
The village is a quiet one, as you can tell. Let's keep it that way. Don't get a lot of visitors, what with the jungle. Can't even remember the last time. But that's part of this place's charm, I suppose.
So you're saying people who actually live in this world also have a hard time getting around in the frickin' jungle of Gongaga, much like those of us who play this game. And Cissnei, technically out of the Turk gig, she wears the boots with heels, unlike Elena's sensible shoes.
Thank you. So what is this?
3 years ago, the reactor here suffered a catastrophic
Because if Cissnei
failure.
rides chocobos, that could be what the boots are for.
It was old and couldn't handle the stress.
It needed maintenance, which Shinra never provided. And then one day... So, they're cheap as well. This was the company's way of trying to make amends.
I'm surprised they even made the effort.
And thanks to the hard work of our people, Gongaga rose from the ashes, right?
That's nice and all, but one memorial doesn't buy absolution.
You guys must be tired. I know you've got things to do, but if you wanted to rest up...
Wouldn't I say no?
So yeah, and I mentioned the timeline of this game a lot, and I know I've brought this up before, but in this video I haven't. So, the Gongaga Reactor explosion was sometime within a year or so after the Corel Reactor explosion, which, in the previous video series, I had made the video, and then while putting it together and editing it, realized Avalanche may actually have had something to do with it. I originally had thought, just playing the game, that there was an accident in the reactor, that it's something fundamentally flawed in the design, something went wrong, and that was the explosion. And then Shinra showed up because Scarlet says in the game, we have a reputation for safety to uphold. Therefore, obviously, it had to have been saboteurs. It couldn't have been their perfectly wonderful product. Well, as I was putting it together and looking at the timeline, it turns out, and I have not played the game, so I cannot speak to this directly, so if this is wrong, forgive me, this is all secondhand. Avalanche may actually have had something to do with what happened at the Corel Reactor. And this is obviously Avalanche before Barret was involved with them. So I suspect that Barret never found out that Avalanche was behind the initial accident. Just because I don't know that I would want to be in the room telling Barret that, yeah, we actually staged the incident that blew up and damaged the reactor that brought Shinra down on your hometown. Still Shinra's fault, but I don't want to be the one to tell him that. So I think probably he just never found out. But a year-ish later, Gongaga Reactor goes up. And yes, it's a maintenance thing, but I'd be willing to bet that somewhere between the two, behind the scenes, Shinra went, okay, this is 2 reactors now that have, one way or the other, have had problems. We can't have bad PR of another reactor going up. Let's get in and try do something to make good here. And did this memorial service. Probably should have done the maintenance on it beforehand, but we never really know what's going on in the reactors at this point. All of this happened while Zack was in Nibelheim under Shinra Manor. This whole time frame, because when Zack left Midgar, it was, what, 1997, I think? Something like that? Yeah. Or excuse me, when Zack left Gongaga for Midgar was 1997. And Gongaga had a functioning reactor at that point. Then 4 was Gongaga reactor explosion. Sometime. We don't know exactly when. And Zack didn't escape from Nibelheim for 2 more years. Ish. So that's why it always struck me as weird nowadays when I go back and look at it, that in Crisis Core, it's not mentioned at all. He's at the ruined reactor, he drops Cloud off to chill there. It doesn't stop and say, whoa, what the hell happened to this place? So, and I assume they just hadn't necessarily cleaned things up then, the timeline, and decided what happened when and where and why. It was probably just, well, we know there's a ruined reactor here from OG7, so there's the ruined reactor. Zack just drops Cloud off there. And at some point then someone said, okay, timeline, let's establish this. And by that point, Crisis Core had already been written and come out. So that's my assumption. I don't know. So anyway, let's see. I don't think there's a whole lot more here to worry about beforehand. Yeah, so I think we're good to proceed here.
My house is just
Open door
down there.
policy. Thank you, Cissnei.
Got an open door policy, so feel free. Woohoo! Don't mind if I do.
I'm, gonna take a look around.
Seriously, get some rest, okay? Those Gongaga mushrooms you found? They're all yours if you want them. We got more than our fair share.
Now that your kitty cat's put his paws all over him, he's carrying one around like an umbrella.
After the reactor incident. Place may not seem like much compared to Midgar, but it's more than enough for me.
So yeah, so she didn't settle down here until Zack asked her to look after his family, presumably somewhere in a response to what happened with Zack. Cissnei left Shinra, although still apparently has some ties to him. So it's not entirely clear just how severed she is from Shinra, so she can still walk into the training facilities like she does later on. Hey,
That
kitty.
Cissnei lassie was right, you know. If Shinra had wanted to, they could have done something about the reactor. But instead, they looked the other way. Willful negligence killed those people, and everyone thinks Avalanche are the bad guys. Sad. Aerith hasn't been herself since we got here, has she? Wonder why. Does she know the place?
She knows of the place.
Aerith hasn't been herself since we got here,
Okay.
has she?
Alright, here we go. See Aerith going in.
Oh, Cloud.
Friend of yours? Come in.
Please.
Your eyes. You're a soldier, aren't you?
Was.
You wouldn't happen to know our son, would you? Zack?
I've said it before, I'll probably say it again. I'm never 100% certain how much of these flashes and headaches and everything Cloud goes through, how much of it is his own trauma refusing to admit things to itself, to his brain, and how much is Genova's influence screwing with him, preventing him from knowing the truth, rewriting what he knows, etc. There's just... Because for the longest time I thought it was just Genova, and then late in the game or so I realized it's just his own brain at work for a lot of this. And then it made me question everything for what's where, when, and how, and why, and whatnot, for how much is his own brain and how much is Genova's influence. And now I don't know if any of it's Genova's influence. I don't know that we're meant to know, even if we know enough to know that it's his own personal trauma and, the truth of his background. I don't know. And it's a little frustrating not being able to tell, and maybe we're not supposed to know. But it's moments like these where they've said Zack's name. He cannot ignore the fact that they said his name, like he kinda did in Remake when Aerith said his name. And he's just like, oh, no. And just sort of gets past it without acknowledging really what she said to him. But here, the more Zack comes up in the story, the less Cloud is able to just ignore Zack's existence. And so here, at least, they got his first name out. And Cloud he can't brush it off entirely. And so now he has to at least acknowledge that he's heard the name. And I think that opens the door for when we get to Nibelheim and he sees Zack. But at the end of this conversation, we get to another interesting point that I'm definitely going to talk about.
Are you all right?
Fine. What did you say his name was?
Zack. Zack Fair.
Zack? Sorry. No.
Our son just up and left one day, determined to chase his dreams. At first, he wrote us all the time, but...
When I first saw you, I thought maybe this is the girl he was always talking about. Sorry if I made you feel uncomfortable.
I doubt I was the only woman in his life. Charming guy like Zack.
Which tells me, Aerith is acknowledging that she was a woman in his life, that she knew Zack, and which it seems like her parents sort of let this go a little bit too fast. Because, Aerith, it kind of tells Cloud afterwards that she couldn't handle talking to his parents, and so she sort of backed off from what she might have said to them. And it looks like I got the timeline up in front of me, and at some point, so I said, Zack left home in 1997, and in 2000, so which is, 0 in this, he wrote a letter back to Gongaga saying he found a girlfriend. There's no other mention here of the letters, and I don't remember all the details of Crisis Core enough to know if that's something that was mentioned there. But he doesn't meet Aerith until 2001, or '01 rather. And so when wrote the letter to his parents, he hadn't met Aerith yet, so he wasn't talking about her there. We don't know if if Zack was writing home to his parents about her at any given point. I don't remember him writing to his parents being a thing in Crisis Core, unless it was some bit of dialogue somewhere where it's like, yeah, I write my parents sometimes too. I wrote, because we know he talked to the kid, not a kid, the person down the slums who was the son of the grocer in Nibelheim. I mentioned it in a previous video. And so that was actually one of Tifa's friends. And so the friend mentioned writing back. So maybe there's some other random bit of dialogue mixed in there, or somewhere in there where Zack mentions writing home. If there is, I cannot remember it at all. So this could be just something that they're putting in here just because he's a good kid. He's a good son. Clearly he wrote home. But it's not real clear if he did so discussing Aerith. As he met her in autumn, sometime in the autumn of Aught 1, and October of Aught 2 is the Nibelheim incident. So he only knew Aerith for a year, just over a year. Which is, really is about a year more than it takes to fall in love with her, because Aerith's awesome. I love Aerith. She's not Tifa, but I love Aerith. She's fantastic. And so, yeah, it's not real clear just, whether Zack ever told his parents directly about her and just neglected to tell them her name, which would be weird. But, yeah, but I mean, Aerith at least is acknowledging that she was a woman in Zack's life, and her parents are just like, oh, okay.
Wherever he is, I hope he's enjoying himself at least. They do say no news is good news, right?
They sure do.
Well, as Cloud points out, not when
If you do happen to
the
see
no
Zack,
noose is someone in the
would you tell her that
military.
you miss him and to please get in touch.
It's not necessarily
Of course
good
I
news. I kind of hope that we see Zack's
should
parents
probably be
again in
heading
part
back,
3
don't you
somewhere.
think?
What?
Preferably when
Already?
there's some form of
At
information or
least
something
have
to tell
something
them.
eat before you go.
Because, honestly,
Thanks,
they seem
but
like
we
really
don't
nice
wanna keep our
people,
friends
and
waiting.
we want Zack to have some form of happy ending, which includes
Another time, then.
his parents. And getting to see them again. Introducing them properly to his, his dead girlfriend.
Here.
Okay, that conversation's not going to go the way that I want it to, is it?
Oh, hello again. Still
No,
no
not in the
word
last
from Zack,
5
I'm
seconds,
afraid.
no. Alright, here we go.
Hey. That wasn't very nice of me.
Wanting to murder Hojo aside, I find it hard to believe that
You remember me
anything
telling
you do
about
isn't nice,
Zack,
Aerith.
right? At the playground? How he was my first love?
Yeah.
I tried to block it out, but yeah.
This is where he grew up. And now that I'm here, it's a lot. So when I saw someone who looked like him, I don't know. I had to say something. Didn't even occur to me to think how they would feel about it. Pretty selfish, huh? Waltzing in there, stirring up memories.
I'm definitely sticking with that one, because
I don't know. They didn't seem to mind.
Sure they did. But thanks.
So, this Zack guy, you still like him?
Wow. You went there, huh?
which whether Cloud is a good friend or an interested party, still a valid question, I would think, because, I mean, I've had really close friends who are women, and that is exactly the sort of thing that I would ask. Be like, so, how do you feel about the guy now? I mean, where are you in this? And it's obviously not anyone I'm interested in. It's just a friendly concern that is a perfectly natural thing to ask. Aerith's response, sounds more like she's taking it as there is something potentially between you and I, and you're just going to come out and ask that, huh? And again, I'm Team Tifa, always have been, always will be. I always felt like she's reading just a little bit more into it, necessarily. If you're Team Aerith, then probably not. You'd think that's exactly what Cloud meant, and that she's reading it the right way, etc. But since they leave the game open-ended, that it could be Tifa or Aerith or neither, that response is just like teensy bit off to in my brain.
Maybe. He's never given me a reason not to.
He's been absent from my life 5 times longer than he was in my life.
Any news? Nothing. No calls, no letters.
So, Aerith and Tifa have had a conversation about Zack and her connection to him and the fact that this is where he was from, because there was not a long period of time since we've been in town where Aerith and Tifa could have had that conversation. So this is probably part of their business conversation they had at some point behind the scenes. And it just goes back to what I've been saying all along in this playthrough. They're having all sorts of conversations that we, the audience and Cloud, are not privy to at all. And they're about to have another one.
Oh.
Leaving you out in the cold like this? Forget about that loser. He's a soldier, right? And I hate to break it to you, but if he's been gone this long, the man is dead.
Cloud?
I'm guessing that one's trauma.
Sorry. I'm gonna go lie down.
But now we get to this.
Well, that clears that up. He definitely doesn't know who Zack is.
Now think about that from Tifa's perspective. In Calm, Cloud narrates the entire story of the Nibelheim incident almost exactly the way that it happened, except he's in Zack's role. Tifa, doubting her memories due to past cranial trauma or not, has zero memory of Cloud being there, and is like, why? How the hell does Cloud know that? She tells Aerith, as far as I know, Cloud wasn't there. Not just, well, he got the details wrong, but he's describing things he was not physically present for. It was this guy named Zack. So Tifa and Aerith at some point in here have discussed a lot about Zack, and probably a lot about that incident and everything in between. And now here is Aerith thinks, well, he definitely doesn't know who Zack is. Which has just got to really throw on its head, what the hell do I remember? If I'm Tifa, what do I remember? Because he got it down, but he wasn't there, and he doesn't remember the existence of the person who I know was there, or think was there. It's like, that's got to be freaking maddening for her. And, like, if I were Tifa, I'd be questioning my sanity a little bit. And if not mine, then absolutely questioning Cloud's. Which is, again, probably, that's what I'm imagining she and Aerith spend a lot of their time talking about off screen, is Cloud's brain. More so than, do you like Cloud? I like Cloud. What are we going to do about this? More of the, is he frickin' okay? And here, I think they're getting set up for another one. They're having a quick little chat about something. Okay, we'll talk later. When it's not so suspicious.
Another time.
So here is Barret. He's about to discuss the farming with Marlene. There's also one little amusing bit here.
Once things settle down, I could see myself moving out here, living off the land. Be a nice change of pace. Just me, Marlene, and our little piece of paradise.
Okay, so here's him
Wonder
thinking
what
about
kind of
maybe
stuff
farming.
We'd end up growing.
This is the best one.
Black Millie? Red Shelly?
Now hold on there, soldier boy.
Those were the ingredients that Jessie wanted to include on her pizza that she was going to make for Cloud in Remake. Remember? On the date of theirs that never happened? Well...
You do know they're used in love potions, right?
They are?
I ain't
Cloud
playing magic.
having some uncomfortable realizations there, huh?
It's break time, boys, and I say we
I love this friggin' music.
Sounds good. Damn right. Liquor used to be my vice of choice, but now I can't get enough of this stuff.
I want to hear this whole song played for like 5-10 minutes. Da 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 da.
Don't forget to try some of our homegrown powders.
Alright. That's a Yuffie sings her song about money materia.
So bored.
Bored right out of my brain.
If I don't.
And we're just gonna go get some rest.
Are you hearing this? It's coming from the reactor. We gotta check it out.
That's the reactor. Let's run the opposite direction up the hill. Take a shortcut. Can I beat her? Can I beat her? Can I beat her? Ah! Game cheated.
You heard?
Hey, you hear that?
Yeah, gotta be a weapon.
Gotta be.
Wait, do you know something about this?
It wasn't us, I swear.
Could say that. Yeah. You've been hearing it for a while.
For a few days now, yeah. The Coalition tried to investigate, but some creatures kept us from getting into the reactor. All they did was fly around. Just the sight of those weird black wisps was enough. More than enough.
Now ain't that something?
You can see them?
Yeah, of course. Why? Do you know what they are?
Whispers.
Well, this just got more interesting.
So, when do we leave?
You, young lady, are on guard duty.
Oh, come on! I just want to help out! Be a part of the team!
Yeah, because you've been a real team player.
Yuffie still hadn't seen the whispers.
Keep an eye on her for us.
I forget if she has any sort of
Do my
reaction
best.
when we get to the reactor.
Let's just get in.
I don't think she
take a
does.
Look and get out. Figure you, me, Cait, and Red can do that easy. Agreed?
Agreed.
Definitely splitting these along gender lines for no apparent reason.
Let's go.
You guys hold down the fort.